everybody, my friends, amigos, amistades, and أصدقائي أحبائي. أهلا وسهلا فيكم, bienvenidos, welcome to my show. This is the Anonymous Chef Show. In this show, we're gonna do a couple of things. Imagine that you visit someone, you visit a friend or family member, and you guys cook dinner together, then have a nice, beautiful conversation that makes you think and go home and take with you not only the yummy food in your stomach and the good feelings you had, but also new ideas to think about. This is the idea of the show. So we'll cook some really yummy food, many years of experience of cooking, and a fusion of spices and ways to cook the food from the Mediterranean, the Arab world, East India, and other places around the world. And we will also discuss many things, including religion, politics, philosophy, and other matters of life. Let's start. Thank you so much. أهلا وسهلا فيكم. Bienvenidos. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Anonymous Chef Show. I've decided to separate the cooking part of the show from the political discussion or other discussions of the show. This will give me the opportunity to be able to produce more episodes of these kind of discussions as things develop during the week, and I'm not bound by the cooking work. The cooking work takes a lot of effort, and another person for the camera. So this would not sometimes enable me to produce as many videos for this section as I would love to. Also would enable me to make different videos quickly in different languages like English, Arabic, and Spanish. Now that's that out of the way. I'd like to talk about a couple of things in this video. One is Latin America, especially Cuba, and the blockades of the US and the US elections, and what's happening in Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's all related. Unfortunately, whatever happened in this planet is all related, always comes back to the US. Always comes back to the US. The US runs the planet. They go around and screw up people's lives all over the planet. They enter anywhere and they cause damage all over the planet. The US and its allies, in this case Israel, in terms of Azerbaijan and Armenia, and in the case of Cuba, Latin America, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Venezuela, it's the US and its allies, the right-wing Latinos, or they call themselves Latinos, from maybe Latinos, but not really, don't care about their countries, in Miami and other parts of the US, especially in Florida. So let's start with that. So this week, the Socialist Party that represents Evo Morales' group in Bolivia won the elections with more than 52% in the first round. This is excellent news. I'm really happy to see that after the coup that was planned and organized by the right wing of Bolivia and Colombia and other countries working very hard. Also, Israel, of course, plays a part in all of that, to bring down Evo Morales or remove Evo Morales, to bring and put in his place a democratically elected president that has won for a long time with the majority of the population in one of the cleanest elections in Latin America, besides the ones in Venezuela, has done so much good for his country and improved the economy so much that he won many economical prizes from all over the world, and also in Dubai, in many universities, raised the standard of living of his people, built a lot of infrastructure, free education, free schooling, and so on. Of course, this is not good for business, not good for the US and its allies, so they made sure they removed him from power through a coup d'etat last year that removed him after the elections. First they tried to say it was fraudulent, all that crap. Then they used the right-wing allies in the military, because Evo Morales never changed really the corrupt people in the military and just left them there, and he thought by getting elected in so-called democracy, he can stay in power. Now you have to be very careful. If the whole system of corruption that is built by the capitalists and their allies and the right wing, whether the media or the army, then you will not last. And this is what happened with Evo Morales. And he's been living in Argentina since then. His life was saved, although they attacked his family and threatened his family, I think his sister, to burn her alive and whatever. At the end of the day, he was removed, and they brought a criminal dictator who nobody really cared about or knew about or won elections, right-wing agent of the CIA. And basically all what she did from the first day second day she got in, is to privatize everything that Evo Morales nationalized, selling all kind of properties of the state, and basically also arresting people who went out in the streets, shooting people, killing people. Within a few months killed hundreds of people. And that's what is referred to in the US as democracy and human rights and civilized democracy, just like they have in Colombia, that kills activists every day, whether they're community activists, feminist activists, student activists, farmer activists, anybody who talks about human rights, anybody who criticizes this government for over 50 years, now 60 years. They've been slaughtering people and assassinating innocent civilians through their paramilitary forces that was built by the US and Israel, trained and armed by these guys, working with the corrupt people in power in Colombia. Of course, this is not shown to the average person in the West. People travel to Colombia, many tourists who have no clue, thinking it's a democracy. It's a lovely democracy, just like Costa Rica is a democracy, although the president of Costa Rica is corrupt and his brother is involved in drug dealings and so on. The same thing with Honduras, with Guatemala. None of that is shown. All what is shown is bad Nicaragua, bad Maduro, dictatorship in Venezuela, dictatorship in Cuba, and all that crap. Thanks to freedom of speech and the media in the West and the media in these countries that totally controlled and owned by the right-wing agenda and the right-wing rich families that control these countries. So, that party won the elections in Bolivia last week, the Socialist Party of Evo Morales, because people have tasted the good deeds of this person and what he did for the country. And it is sure, I assure you, many people can assure you, that if there are real, sincere, open, democratic elections in Latin America, all these countries will have socialist parties winning in Latin America. If it wasn't for the interference and sabotage of the right wing and the United States, CIA, Mossad, and their allies, fascist Bolsonaro would not be in power in Brazil. It would be Lula. Lula was doing reforms in the country, building housing for the poor, making sure, that corruption, chasing corruption in the state, and also access to healthcare and free healthcare. That is not good for business, and therefore they removed him through the corruption of even the justice system. Between the media and the legal system, they made up all kind of lies about him, just like they did in Argentina against Cristina, and they put him in jail so that Bolsonaro wins. And what happens when Bolsonaro wins? He raises the Israeli flag. That's the first flag he raises, him and his two sons, not the Brazilian flag, the Israeli flag. And his sons are seen wearing t-shirts, talking about the IDF and the Mossad. That's the Brazilian spirit that these people have. The same thing happens in Guatemala, Honduras, and the rest of Latin America. Now Evo Morales is one. Let's talk about Cuba. So there is a really good documentary that came out recently through a group of activists, I guess called The Belly of the Beast is the name of the YouTube channel. I was really happy to see this work, and I'm gonna post in the comment section a link to chapter 1 and chapter 2. Or episode 1, episode 2 that came out, and they're in English with subtitles when she speaks Spanish, but it's done by a real Cuban person in Cuba, talking about the blockade and the politics of the US and how that impacts Cuba, especially during COVID, and for the last over the 60 years of brutal economical war against Cuba. And you can see in the documentary how Donald Trump was really excited about the reforms that Obama did with Cuba, opened a little bit of trade, cruise ships starting going to Cuba, and flights and some businesses. And the first thing he did, he went to register to try to open hotels in Cuba. And he was really happy. But of course, the Cubans in Miami, Marcorubio, and the rest of the rich, powerful Cuban right-wing terrorists, basically in my mind, in Cuba, who are terrorizing the population with a blockade of over 60 years, starving the population, who claim to be Cubans and claim that they want a free Cuban country and system, and they really care about the human rights in Cuba and care about the well-being of Cuban people in Cuba, which is all a lie. They're actually the enemy of Cuba, and if there's any enemy in the world against Cuba, it's these people in Miami. Because even, they were not happy with what Obama did. So Marco Rubio, and you'll see in the video, first had a very hostile relationship with Trump when Trump wanted to open businesses in Cuba during Obama time. But when Trump wanted to win the elections, these people told him, if you want Florida, this is what you have to do. And you'll see that in the video. And basically reversed everything that Obama did and go as far as you can in making the people of Cuba suffer. And more blockade and more sanctions. This is the real face, the ugly face of the so-called Cubanos, free Cubans of Miami, that really supposedly care about their country and against the dictatorship, as they say in Cuba, which is a total lie. So I will urge you to go see these videos for yourselves and do some research. There's also all kind of propaganda. One famous singer from Cuba, his name is Alexander Delgado, who belongs to a group called Gente de la Zona. You might have heard some of their songs. They participated in many songs, but basically who promotes and helps these people grow in the world or in the American market? It's Miami. So when this group refused to speak against Cuba, long time ago, when they were under pressure, if you want to grow in Miami to speak against Cuba, they were attacked by these TV channels that are owned by Marco Rubio and other people, or at least the same gang, and a lot of pressure on them. Why? They said few things about Cuba, and that the current president of Cuba is their president, or whatever. Anyway, finally, this gentleman, Alexander Delgado, came on YouTube and TV and spoke a little bit against Cuba. He said, I really care about the Cuban people. That's why I care about them not being hungry. And I care about them to be not treated bad by the police and that they have good health system or health care. I thought he was talking about the United States of America, to tell you the truth, because the police brutality that's been shown on TV for the last year all over the planet was in the US. The most brutal, maybe I'm sure there are more brutal, especially Israelis with the Palestinians, but it's amazingly brutal police force that uses lethal power and force against unarmed civilians, innocent civilians of African descent, women, pregnant women, all people. They really don't care, and they shoot to kill, and they get away with it. And it's been all over the news. About healthcare, how can you talk about the healthcare, criticize the healthcare of the United States of Cuba sitting in Miami, my friend? I mean, it's laughable. So there's no healthcare system basically in the US. People die like dogs in the streets if they get sick. If you need to get tested for COVID, you need to pay $9 every time you want to get tested. If you get treated, you want to get treated $30,000 and so on and so on. And that's why they have more than 9 million cases. No other place in the planet has that. More than 220,000 people dead. Compare that to the communist, so-called ex-communist countries or socialist countries and their stats. Compare that to Cuba that has only 124 deaths. And a lot of these people were tourists that came from outside. A cruise ship that Cuba let in that was full of COVID, that nobody would let them land, and Cuba accepted them to treat them. And maximum 5,000 cases all through this story of COVID. 124 dead. Compare that to other countries, like China. China, 84,000 cases. How many dead? Maybe 5,000. How many new cases? Maybe 14 a day or something. So this tells you basically compare the capitalist system and its willingness to serve and provide services for the population in the United Kingdom, in France, in Italy, in the USA, of course, in India, in Brazil, and see how many people are dead under these lovely capitalist systems, and how are the numbers are just exploding compared to how they are in Vietnam, or in China, or in Cuba, and countries like that. This is despite the blockade against Cuba, despite the blockade of importing medicine or things that will enable Cuba produce medicine, or masks, or ventilators, or so on, all made locally. Despite this criminal blockade, Cuba has been able to survive and be proud and independent and free for over 60 years. Before that, it was basically run by corrupt agents of the United States, Batista and his group, or the mafia. It was a casino and a bordel and a whorehouse, basically, for the rich in the United States, and totally run and owned by American companies. The Cuban Revolution came and nationalized all of that to make this country free and control their self-destination. That is no good for the United States of America, although the media says totally the opposite. All the NATO media is the same, whether it's in the United Kingdom or Canada or the US or anywhere you look that's under this system of the West and capitalism. And they are dogs and servants all over the world. They always promote lies, that they are the most civilized, and they really care about human rights. Exactly, let's see the human rights in Saudi Arabia, and how much the United States care about human rights in Saudi Arabia. About how they slaughtered or killed that Khashoggi guy in the embassy and cut him up to pieces. No big deal, that's normal practice. They trained mercenaries that went to Iraq. I went to Iraq and saw that and filmed and did documentary there, interviewed people, and I saw the crimes that they did in Iraq, or whether they're the governments that they put in Guatemala, Honduras, Chile, you name it, Ecuador, in Colombia, and so on, in Latin America, or the rest of the Arab world, where they arrest and torture people, just like in Egypt, and so Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Middle East. Now, it's Armenia. Now they're getting their terrorists and jihadists, ISIS, that was built and started by the US and the Mossad, owned by the Mossad and the US, and Saudi money from Qatar and United Arab Emirates, to cause the damage that they've been causing and slaughtering people and terrorizing people in Syria for a long time now. Now they're taking that to Armenia. They took those people also to Libya to train them and so on. They're basically they're mercenaries from all over the world under the name of Allah and religion and Islam and jihadists, which started historically with the invention of the Taliban against the Soviet Union, to bring down the Soviet Union. It worked really well, and now we have to live under this crap in the Arab world. This is why I'm here, I'm not there. I've had enough of this crap, of this fanaticism, and it's now fight for power between the Wahhabis of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia want to be the leader of this terrorist world that is trying to control the Middle East and now servant to Israel, or the version of the Turkish part of the Sunni Islam, and so on and so on. By the way, I'm an atheist, so I'm not against Sunni or Shia, whatever. People are totally free to believe in what they are. This has nothing to do with the religion. This is how religion is being used and politicized to basically control countries, damage countries, terrorize, slaughter, do whatever, using these idiots as a weapon for their political purposes. And the average people are falling for it. So now there's all kind of media propaganda that I see sometimes in TikTok of, should we be with Azerbaijan as Muslims, or should we be with Armenia? Armenia are Christians. Should we be standing with Turkey or with Saudi Arabia? What is happening in Azerbaijan is because Armenia stood up with Syria and was supporting Syria against the terrorists that are supported by the US, Israel, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and so on. And Armenia also supported the Palestinian Cause. So they got this fanatics and Wahhabis in Azerbaijan and armed them, totally armed to the teeth, through the US with Israeli weapons and American weapons, and funded by Turkey and so on to attack and slaughter and kill people in Armenia. The same story all over the world. If you dare to stand up for your rights, if you dare to talk about nationalizing oil or your natural resources, whether it's lithium in Bolivia or oil in Bolivia or oil in Iran, like what happened with Mossadegh when they killed him and brought the Shah because he nationalized Irani oil, or whether it happened in Iraq when Abdul Karim Qasim nationalized Iraqi oil, or whether it's in Libya because of Gaddafi also nationalizing the oil and using the oil for the benefit of his own people, or it's Chavez, and he did that also for oil, nationalizing his oil in Venezuela and Maduro, or it's Cuba. So this is the story, my friends. Take that and keep that in your mind. And remember, the elections in the US is just a show. It's a stupid show that gets people like drugged, the average people, fighting each other for a choice between the two evils. They're both evil. They both don't care about the average person, mucho menos and much less about the lives of people in the underdeveloped countries. Basically, they're not underdeveloped, they're overexploited. So basically, American politics would not change, generally speaking, under these US presidents. They will continue. Obama continued his policy, their policy in the Middle East. What happened in Syria was under Obama's rule. What happened in Libya, what happened in Yemen, and that will continue after different US presidents. And Obama is a businessman. Where he can make money, he would go, and he would not dare to challenge these policies. So yeah, keep that in mind. Trump really wanted to go into Cuba and open businesses. Then Rubio went and told him, don't do that if you want Florida. So he abided, and he became Rubio's best friend. You'll see that in the video. And the poor average people in Cuba has to pay the price. And then the Cubans of Miami come and say, we are the heroes. We believe in freedom of speech. And we believe in the freedom of Cuba. What freedom of speech, guys? Anybody who opened their mouth, they're attacked by the media, by you guys, called communist, socialist, this, anything. Anybody that talks about anything good for their own country, about owning their own wealth and resources for the benefit of their people, is shown as a dictator, is shown as a bad guy. I mean, there are some dictators like Saddam Hussein, but who put Saddam Hussein in power was the United States of America. Okay, Noriega was their guy. Noriega is always their guy. And then when he wanted to nationalize the Panama Canal, all of a sudden he's a drug dealer. Haiti, same thing, a coup in Haiti. Anybody who wants to dare to come to improve the standard of living of their own people, like what happened in Haiti, Canada was behind that. Bring dictatorships in. The first attempt to do a coup in Venezuela that failed this year was planned here in Canada by the foreign minister of Canada, who is a Zionist. Okay, so lots of coincidences. Yeah, you might say this is a conspiracy theory. Well, my friends, I don't have to say anything. Just go look at the truth outside of the main media. Okay, and just imagine, it's not things that we're making up. There are few rich people that own the media, and you know that. A handful, maybe 4 or 5 families. In Canada, 4 or 5 families, less than that, own all the radio, the newspapers, all the TV channels, and they tell you what to think. The same thing in the United Kingdom, the same thing in the USA, and the same thing in many of these countries. It's private, right? How can you have freedom of speech when things are owned by a rich guy who wants to tell you something that's not going to hurt his business? So think about that. Thank you for listening. I'll put the link in the comments section about these 2 parts of the documentary. Keep thinking and have an open mind, and don't fall in the trap of the details of elections and the details of who's Muslim and who's Christian and who's Sunni and who's Shia and who hates what. It's all crap. It's all made up. It's all enforced. It's all programmed, so we can never unite and we can never make changes. But trust me, if there is any real freedom of speech one day, and the actual media allow people like me and other people show the real stuff and real statistics that come out of different agencies, even the United Nations, to come on TV, things would change. Israel, as an apartheid state, has broken more than 65 UN resolutions. This is never shown anywhere. Nobody does anything about it. They use all kind of banned weapons, whether it's cluster bombs, phosphorus bombs. They attack hospitals, they attack ambulances, they attack schools, they kill children, they jail children, they torture children. None of that is brought up anywhere. I mean, there's only one thing. Either Palestinians are not human beings and we're all racist and we love that, or compare that to South Africa, when the whole world basically boycotted South African regime, when they had apartheid South Africa, except Israel. Israel had an amazing relationship with that regime. But no. Poor Israel and the heroic democratic system of Israel. Thank you. We live only once. Let's just be honest so we can sleep better at night instead of being hypocrites. Cheers. But for today, please feel free to leave any comments, any questions, any suggestions in the comment section. Also, please like, subscribe, and share if you like, and we will see you in the next episode. We will let you know what we're going to discuss in the next episode, but see you soon, and thank you. Muchas gracias. Shukran lakum. Ahla wa sahla fikum. Thank you so much. Love you all. Cheers. Cheers. Like, please subscribe, leave me some comments so we can discuss more things next week, or we can talk about politics and so on. Let me know if you think this idea of the show is good. Cheers.